move this over first. All right, should be set up. We don't have any more data, Dave, do we, today?
I haven't really been paying close attention to the calendar. If we do, it's probably not till 10 usually.
Yeah. I think you just had 8:30 numbers. I think it was pretty light.
And crypto doesn't care anyway.
I know. I don't know if this dragon's going to hold. I guess I'll turn over to the business channel and NHL Network showing old pictures of Timo Solani throwing his glove in the air, shooting it
Oh,
down.
yeah. That's a great celebration.
Are we on tonight? Do the boys play tonight?
I think so.
Because they traveled for last game, so they had 2 nights off.
Back in Vegas.
There's a few of you guys coming in on YouTube. Giwak, I'm not sure how to say your name, but morning. So I've got Alec joining us again as usual today, and then my buddy Dave, who's just out, our Canadian, I don't know, Dave, trading badass. What do we have? The London massacre.
The London massacre. The early bird trying to get the worm.
Yeah. I have to get up and do that a little bit more with you here. Well, I guess, what's up, Scotty? Scott, did you come out of that NXS last night? I just saw your post. It seemed like it was at like 1 in the morning, something like that. I checked this morning. I was like, oh, great. It's right back down. So I know some of you guys have been long. It's NXS here. Pretty good move overnight. Dave, have you done anything with this, or Alec? It's up 24%.
No, I haven't.
Last night.
No, not me either. There's so many. Everyone's following lately.
I know, it's tough to keep track. I do like this chart, though. I kind of talked about it, I think, in a couple of our live streams. This was a pretty tight base, and then this real money candle cleared that whole base. You get above pi. I guess probably worth having some offers in overnight up there, maybe again if we get another retest. But I don't know. There's a lot of room to go back to here. There's no reason to think you can't trade up this way. Again, our risk is kind of below. Risk would be below the real money candle here, or using this low, either one or both. Scott, you slept through it or you came out? Thought maybe you sold out of some. What's up, Mitch? Well, I guess we could just do a rundown real quick of the majors, and then
it's always a good way to start.
Yeah, I didn't see a whole lot of alts moving. Forex has been pretty busy this morning. For some of you guys that care on that side, I'll just switch over real fast. I was reading a couple things today. There's been record outflows out of the EU as far as capital flow. So we've been getting a little bit of a squeeze with this daily cycle coming back up on the euro, but that was kind of anticipated. We talked yesterday and with the the live room team that this was kind of the low. It was all over Fox Business. So what was that? 115.40. So here we are back almost to 118. I think there's a good shot at us getting another lower high here. Maybe we cycle all the way back up on the weekly. I'm a little skeptical of that though. I mean, we got the 8 here. It's going to come into play in front of 119. This would be just a massive short opportunity if we rallied back up here. It's possible. So Dave, you didn't do anything on the euro this morning?
No, I did not. I typically just kind of look for the pound pairs that that offer a little bit more movement, but definitely like euro dollar, euro pound are good if I'm core trading, because I don't mind leaving those kind of unattended, overnight or when I'm not around. But those pound pairs can be a little bit more volatile, which is good for intraday trading. But
yeah, they're little bigger pips.
Yeah,
for sure. So let's see. Today I started putting out some bigger pieces. I mean, this is small. This is literally, this was the smallest piece of my core down here. And I think we were short 1 million up here. So that was really lightened up into the lows. And then it was just slowly been kind of putting it out. And then today I hit some bigger pieces and I'm going to be more aggressive now. It's a little bit tough to go home overnight too aggressive, but intraday, I mean, I got all day of trading, so I've just been kind of picking my spots, but I'll be trading bigger size now that we're all the way back to the top of the range. The daily cycle's high, or that's the 4-hour, but the dailies come up too. Daily cycle's pretty high. So I sold a little bit. It's kind of hard to see on the 1 minute this morning. I sold here, I covered here and here, I resold here, I covered a little here. I'll resell some more if we get back up here, day trade while we're looking at crypto. That's kind of what I'm focused on. And the same thing on the euro pound. This has been in a pretty tight range. It seems like the capital flows, the smart money's selling out of the euro, and it doesn't seem like big picture the euro is a good spot to be. So you're seeing a lot of flight to the pound. So anytime you get any type of pop on the euro versus the pound, there's these nice back and forth action on here. So sold some. I mean, we were selling up here, covered, sold some here, covered, and now you're getting back to the top of the range again. So I'll just start fading that. And then we just talked about Dragon as a couple people jumped on. Big picture, I think it's the same trade, really, as far as the cycle goes. It was pretty low down here, so I was pretty light. And now I've just been slowly fading it, but I'm starting to put out bigger pieces, 100,000. And I think we got a good shot at making a lower high somewhere in here with this daily cycle. So that's a trade that might play out into next week. But in the meantime, again, I'll get more aggressive on the short side when the cycle's there. So the 15-minute cycle was high this morning. Dave, you took your trade from here to here.
Mm-hmm.
And then this cycle was high. I sold some stuff here, covered a little bit here, covered. And then now I actually just took a long because the cycle's low. So I'm short big picture, but then day trade just going a little bit this way. You can kind of see it a little bit easier on these other charts. Let me go back over here. So when I look at the 5 minute, I'm going to see if the market can hold right in here, hold the bands like we call it, right? And if we can't hold here, that's okay. I'm still net short, and I'll probably flip and add to my short on the way back to pi here. But we'll see if this 15-minute gives us a little bit of a bounce back. And then for anybody else that cares in Forex, bought a little bit here on a scale after the numbers on dollar CAD. This was a weird move. It was a big move up and then a big move back. So there's pretty good support down here. So I'll probably try to just come into a little bit of a long for a bounce the rest of the day there. Already had a small one. Bought into this low and then came out of a little bit on the 1 minute. Probably add back to that if we get back down and in the range of this bottoming tail while we're talking. I think that's it in Forex. Did you see anything else, Dave, really moving?
No, I mean, dollar CAD, obviously there's that NAFTA headlines that have been going on for what seems like, all year. So that's another one, a good one to follow, especially, when New York starts to open up for the day, because that can be a pretty lively pair too. So
yeah, and it's been some pretty good ranges. I mean, you have I guess we talked about the wide range is the big picture wide stuff is down here. But I mean, there's been good trading here within this tighter near-term range or intermediate term.
Yeah, the model seems to work pretty well on the 4-hour time frame as well. I always notice that the cycles seem to line up nicely with a lot of the swing moves.
Yeah.
So even if you wanted to kind of take a longer term approach, it's handy to keep that chart open sometimes.
So when there's ongoing news like that, discussions like NAFTA, do people tend to sit on the sidelines for that, or do they really try to trade every
Yeah, I think you're always going to have people trying to trade the headlines. But whether you want to or not, at least it kind of provides a little gas to get the price moving one way or the other. I know we had like the Bank of Canada, and then right after that, there was the announcement from Trump about the tariffs. Now there's, I guess, talk that maybe they're not going to be as bad as expected. But whether you want to know the reasons for the move or try to trade the reason for the move, at least there's something going on.
Yeah.
Sometimes there's some of these pairs just go to sleep and do nothing, it seems.
Yeah. I mean, those are all good points. I mean, Alec, it's kind of like there's no algos really tied into the crypto markets just yet. I mean, maybe some guys do. I just don't know how, legit that is. It's not like the boys down in Chicago that are tied into the CME or the really high frequency big shops that are trading billions and if not trillions. And so there's definitely, there's a lot of algos plugged into the FX market around the headlines and stuff. But I think to Dave's point, we're down here on another 4-hour cycle. There's just been really nice contrarian trades to do at the top of these, this was nice lows.
And you get those nice complete cycles. They don't often end halfway, so you hit both ends of the bands nicely.
Yeah. And that's a good point. Like if you sell something well up here, it's nice to grab some, 1 or 2 hours in, but if you can sit on some for that entire cycle back, that's a nice trade right there. I think we go the other way now. I'm going to buy the rest of the day back here into Pi. And a lot of times we were talking about this the other day, when you kind of have a more of a range trade environment, you kind of want to shoot for buying at the wide, we call the wides, the wide end of the range, and then cover in the middle. And then like Dave was saying, if you can catch it all the way back to the other end of the cycle on a piece, and then you can just usually flip and go the other way. Yeah, but we should do a little bit more with that pair. And the only other one I thought maybe today was Euro Kiwi. Some of you guys on the YouTube side, you're looking at gold too. Euro had a really nice pop overnight, and I didn't think gold really moved at all, honestly, relative to what usually you see dollar down like that. I guess gold came back pretty good, right? From 1298. But when I look on the daily level, we're up 2 days versus what the euro's done in 2 days. to me just is a lot different. I mean, that's the 4 hour. We've basically moved 200 pips in a couple days. The daily, I don't know. This is a pretty strong move up on the euro, and gold just is still pretty lethargic. I mean, I have a small long here just as a hedge against our dollar longs, but Mitch, are you playing that one? I noticed you posted that here on YouTube. What I was saying on Euro Kiwi, the only other one I thought maybe you could sell into a little bit this morning was we really like this core carry trade. I've just been kind of waiting on the daily cycle to come back up. I mean, I'm happy to sell more euros versus the dollar and versus the pound, and then if this comes up higher, we'll start hitting that one. Well, I guess we go back over to crypto.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, all right. So I was going to hit on the majors. Let's see if our long-term cycles held up here. I mean, I touched on the long-term stuff yesterday. We had a couple turning points as far as the cycles go. We had our 8.6 week turning point came exactly on the benchmark at the end of the month. And we haven't had very much of a move as far as price. But we did get above the 8, and it's just been really a lack of energy. So to me, it just seems like we might have to be sitting through this entire summer with the energy in the market like this. I mean, there's an 8.6 month cycle that comes off the high that doesn't play out, doesn't turn until August and September. Hopefully, I mean, that just might be from an energy standpoint what we're waiting on. But we do have a turn here yesterday on the 5th. So I'm kind of trying to see if we can get above the highs from the weekend, then we should rally into the 21st or so. I guess we could just as easily revisit the lows into the 21st also. Let's look at the hourly. So the daily cycle is coming up also, which is just kind of, it's not really great for the intermediate term picture. You know, these daily cycles will really tend to capture a lot of the 3 to 5 to 8 day moves. I actually got lifted on some futures last night. I'll show you on this screen. So I put in the room last night that maybe, you know, we got an intermediate term downtrend in the context of the long-term uptrend. So I've been kind of keeping an eye on this regression channel. And you can see, guys, this pink line or this magenta line, Dave's favorite color. This is 2 standard deviations. The yellow is 1. So if some of you guys, are you guys familiar with regression channels? I mean, it would be nice if TradingView would add them. Maybe somebody can message a group over there that they should try to add regression channels. But essentially, you can use that tool and it'll grab you drag it over the most recent price action. I just try to do it whatever captures the most recent price movement, whether it depends on what time frame you're looking at. But an hourly, if you grab and you drag the regression over the top of this price action, you can see that we're pretty much in a range here. So 2 standard deviations. Anytime you get close to it, it's pretty much been the bottom, and here's been the top. So I offered a little bit overnight in front of Pi, and I got lifted up there. My average on this small hedge short is kind of right here, around 7,500. So my plan is to try to cover a little bit as we come back down, and then feed into some of the longer term positions. And if we break up first, I may take one last shot at selling something up here, up towards just outside of, you know, the top of the regression channel up here. That would probably move my average somewhere up around 7,600, but we're just trying to trade it around. We haven't had a whole lot of movement. Anyway, that's what I'm doing on the future side. Dave, are you doing much on the futures at all?
No, not really. I'm just sticking to the the main exchanges, the crypto exchanges. I guess I could. I mean, I got a broker that offers that, of course, but
yeah. It's been helpful. We've been doing some stuff for miners on that side, on the hedging, but really big picture, it's not a time to be really aggressive on the short side at all. I mean, we're not that far from 6,000. All the real short opportunities were February, and some of these peaks in front of 12,000, or even this last run in front of the 200 at 10. Yeah, definitely been a chop fest, Mitch. I think if we look at the pivots, like I got my maintenance guys here. Hopefully the Apple headphones are draining that out. But I think the big pivots now, obviously, big picture, we've talked about up here at 10,000. And then we've got these two lower highs right here that are going to kind of change the intermediate term flow if we can break that. But, I mean, right now we're stuck in this intermediate term downtrend, right? So this is the first pivot. And then I want to see how we react at these highs. We got pi coming into play right in the same area. Of course, we've got the 30 here. It's about 8,000 also. Crypto's kind of been stuck in the mud as far as the majors. I'm going to throw the bands in here. Dave, what have you been doing on your Litecoin? I know you trade that.
I think you had a chart up in the last few days of the daily and the weekly cycles you had overlaid.
For LTC?
Yeah, well, it was for Litecoin. I think the similar thing was happening on Bitcoin. So I've just been adding back to some of the cold storage stuff I sold maybe earlier in the year just to play a bit of defense back then.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm comfortable holding certain coins longer term, like Litecoin. I like using it. I like holding it and trading it. So some of these other altcoins is just maybe more speculative on my interest in them.
Yeah.
But yeah, like the big three, Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Litecoin, I don't mind having various weightings in those at all times.
Yeah. I mean, I agree with that. It's pretty much the same way I trade it. It's just nice to move around. I mean, 3 cents, 7 cents to move.
Yeah, and I think the fees have come down nowadays considerably to what they used to be. So it's pretty nice to be able to move it around again.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think Litecoin looked pretty cheap the other day on a relative value basis. I didn't look at it this morning. Let's do that right now. There's a couple of ways we view this. So I actually lightened up a little bit on Bitcoin Cash this morning because it looked like it was one of the bigger movers on Bittrex, and it looks like it's sticking out now when we look at these charts. So what I kind of look for, you guys can play around with this. It's a little subjective, but I've just essentially laid out, Bitcoin price versus the dollar, Ethereum, Litecoin, and then BTC. And so you can see there's times where these they do move together, but there's times where one or the other will kind of stick out or the spread will widen. So you can obviously see the distance between Bitcoin Cash and Bitcoin is pretty wide, right here. And it's done the same thing again here. Looks like today on the daily. And then I try to just cycle through a few different time frames just to confirm. I mean, you can drive yourself crazy when you start to stretch this chart because it'll, the perspective will change as you change time around. But if you just kind of look from 4 different lenses, it kind of gives you a good feel. I mean, here we got Litecoin on the 4 hour. looks to be pretty cheap versus the others. Ethereum's been pretty much a leader for months now. But Litecoin looks pretty cheap on the 4-hour, hourly. So now we got, well, this might have been the hourly before that I was on, and it just didn't refresh. Sometimes Conergy does that. Go to the daily. Yeah, there's the daily. You actually got Litecoin and Bitcoin Cash pretty cheap. Ethereum has definitely been the strongest. Let me just look at the 30-minute one last time frame. So this was a good example here. Litecoin was really sticking out on the 30-minute chart. So there were some good spots to add here on LTC, like intraday. It's still lagging behind this morning. And then I like to pair them against BTC instead of versus the dollar and see how they look. I got another chart saved for that. So here, those are really widespread. This is the daily view. Got Litecoin in the turquoise or the blue here. This is a really widespread between the two. 4-hour. So, I mean, so relative value is always kind of, you can always make the argument, well, you know, the reason Litecoin looks cheap is because it's not as strong as Ethereum or it's not performing as well. And I get that, but there's times in the market where if we get to levels we like with the cycle and just overall Bitcoin and you get something sticking out, and you can even look at this like we've done it before in Ethereum or Ethereum Classic, but you can see here that, I mean, it doesn't take much for Litecoin to catch right back up. Anytime there's a pretty good spread here, it tends to close that gap. And typically how like they're called RV traders or relative value traders. We covered a lot of them in the treasury markets, but ideally what they do is they actually short the pair that's the whatever asset is on the wides. They would short here and say go long here. And then you look for the two to come together is typically how you play it. We've just been really trying to see what's kind of sticking out and then playing that on the long side. Or sometimes like if Ethereum or Bitcoin Cash has a really big run, you can see like here it was kind of, Bitcoin Cash went from basically the cheapest of the four and then moved all the way to rich. So that was a pretty good spot to lighten up on some of your Bitcoin Cash. Same thing up here. It was kind of sticking out. Here it looked a little bit cheaper. Anyway, we kind of try to keep an eye on that. Do you guys know of any other pairs to do that kind of on a relative value basis? I guess.
Be interesting maybe to put, I don't know, a few of these altcoins that do similar things.
Yeah, I was just thinking that too, Alec. Like, I don't know, like I guess you could compare some of the platform plays maybe, or you could take like an IOTA versus what was the other one we were talking about the other day?
Like IOTA, I don't know, other ones that maybe share that same, maybe like some storage or like computing power ones or privacy oriented.
Oh, the privacy ones, we could probably lay like 5 over the top of each other, you know?
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good idea. I'll save those charts. I won't build them right now, but I like that idea. I think that'd be helpful. Let's go to the intermediate term. I'll kind of hide some of the longer term cycles. I've already talked about that. If you guys, any of you guys on the chat stream, if there's any other stuff you want to look at. EOS, Decreed's fair play. Yeah. Saw Decreed had a pretty big move this morning, it looked like, right? On a percentage basis. I thought I saw that on Bittrex. Load this other chart. We can get into some of these other alts. That looks like a bad print on Salt, huh? I've had Coinigy's been a little bit weird today. Dave, I think this was the cycles you were talking about on LTC, right?
Yeah, the longer term ones that you were overlaying in the last few days, and it's just interesting how there's this confluence of them at this point, as well as you can see the prices getting back down, making like a triple bottom or back to these kind of historic levels. So you can easily take a long here, and you know where your risk is defined, right? So
yeah, no, I agree. I mean, we had basically the down move on this cycle off the highs, and then we bottomed here, and then we had you had a pretty good rally, but then we had a cycle inversion where price bottomed with the top of the cycle, and we had another rally. So we're kind of back to that same time frame, and I would expect a pretty good move here. I mean, that's the thing. It could, if we don't hold these lows, you could see a pretty nasty cycle inversion to the downside, you know. But right now, I think you want to actually lean long with the longer term trend. And then we'll see if we get another decent several week move. And then again, you can actually see the monthly cycle is really long. But that's not going to even start to turn till August.
definitely a good area to add if you've got like a core position to bring your average cost more in line with the market, especially if late last year or early this year you were buying some of the higher prices.
Mm-hmm.
So that's another benefit that I was buying some Litecoin for in Bitcoin.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I mean, you just work these levels. I mean, like, I know you know how to do it, but you add and reduce around. I mean, the 110 to 100 is really the sweet spot. But I mean, we've had, even if we were buying in front of 110 last time, and we had to move all the way back to 128. What kind of percentage is that? That's 13% move. So we'll trade it around. I mean, these are some of our hourly moves. We talked about, which I know I'm still on Litecoin here, but we'll get to some of the other smaller ones. I just thought my next move on LTC is going to be taking some off back into these highs up here if we can get up there. I was short futures over the weekend, so I didn't really want to take anything off here because I couldn't buy back any of my futures short because the market wasn't open. So if the market kept running, I wanted to stay long, so I didn't take anything off up here. But now I'll definitely do that if we get another run up into the end of the week. Yeah, let's look at some of these other smaller names. Cardano. Some of you guys want to look at Nano and Waves. We can do that too. Cardano, kind of the same looking chart. I mean, we actually just held high on the hourly. I mean, anytime you get back towards 20 cents, I think you want to be a little bit aggressive with Cardano. We've had some good buys down here before. Same thing with Salt. We talked about Salt below $2 is pretty much a gift. You know, I think we could easily be back at 4 here on any type of BTC strength. I mean, Salt's going to rip again. We were buying down here at 280. It went to 360 pretty easily. It's a daily cycle look like there. Yeah, I just really like Salt below 2. 0x had a little bit of a pop this morning. Matrix. That's what it looked like versus BTC. 0x, we looked. I talked about that one like quite a bit the other day with Mark. Where's Nano? Nano's on Binance, right?
Mm-hmm.
Alec, you trading that one?
Nano? Yeah, I hold a position. I haven't really been managing it. I bought it down. I'm not sure what the price was, but I'm buying on this retracement here.
Yeah, and this is one, I mean, we're looking at it versus BTC, that BTC hasn't really even rallied and it's still leaking lower. So this is one of the charts that's making lower lows, and most of the market's not in that formation or structure. Most of the markets actually sideways or actually making higher lows, like the EOSs of the world and the Binance coin. But it doesn't mean that you can't play it. I think you just have to be a little bit more patient on this coin. Just give me a second, guys. I'm going to flip over to FX. Euro's kind of making a move back up. Just a little bit there. So, but there's a way you kind of buy the lower lows. It's just, we talk about being a little bit more patient when it's tough. There's a lot of people that buy lower lows consistently, and I don't think they're really aware that that's what they do. But if you're always buying lower lows, it's tough to have good performance. But here's a bullish engulfing. I mean, when you get the cycle down, I think there's spots to nibble, and then at some point, we'll try to catch the right-hand side of the chart. We get some big real money candles like this. This was a bullish engulfing.
Yeah. It's an interesting token where, like Bitcoin and these other currencies are seen as more of a store of value, where with something like Nano, it's not really meant to be a store of value at all with the transaction time. I mean, it's really meant to be used for transaction purposes.
More merchant services type of transactions.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's, it's more untested than anything else, but the fundamentals haven't changed since, those all-time highs.
You like the team there?
Yeah. I mean, they had that whole Big Rail hack, which wasn't on Nano, but it's just still bad press. And then, it was a lot of hype for it, I think, and just kind of fell away. But nothing's really changed from a fundamental standpoint. It's probably even stronger now.
It's going to get above these bands at some point. It's probably going to have a really nice run. I mean, the cheaper it gets, it's not going to take much for a 30-50% move just back to pi. And so from a cyclical standpoint, at some point, you're going to get that. So what else is in the news, guys? I mean, EOS has been grabbing a lot of headlines.
Yeah, I think that's what everyone's been focusing on lately.
I mean, this has been one of the strongest charts. And, it continues to make higher lows. There was a lot of chasing going on over the weekend, but I think from a price perspective, I like that, you could just follow the money, right? So the big candles, these are the footprints of money. So when you see a candle that sticks out, like this was obviously one of the largest candles, right? And the most recent, all these candles are much smaller, and then boom, there's a footprint of money, right? You start making higher highs. This is a real money candle in our model. So all that ignites the move. We have one here right at the bands. We got another one. So, the flow or the path of least resistance is definitely higher. I like that we held about halfway of this move up over the weekend. So we don't really want to chase when you're extended from the 8. When you've got this angle and distance from like an 8-period moving average, is just this red line. Or maybe some of you guys are maybe not familiar. Trying to want to buy back near the 8, or what we call near the bands, is a little bit better. But this is just kind of consolidating sideways pretty nicely. Daily cycle was nice and low back here.
Pull up Monero maybe.
Yeah.
Monero, they just added Ledger support, so you can now store it on your Ledger Nano.
Oh, really?
Yeah, which I think that was a
See that.
major thing that was missing from Monero. I mean, there's just no easy way to store it. And I think that coin really is a store value, especially with the privacy.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, it may be one of the ones that governments kind of give a hard time to, but I actually think that probably makes it rally even more.
I think so.
It could. Mitch, Novogratz was talking about EOS. Was that today on Bloomberg? I didn't see that either. He's obviously talks to a lot of those guys, so that makes sense. Everything looks good. We've had several holds at Pi back here in the 4 hour. Any pullback, guys, you get back towards Pi on EOS, you want to be a buyer. This cycle was low yesterday. It's kind of come back up already. I'll try to grab some more on this next 4 hour cycle. Are they have any problems with the code? I saw that somebody's found I don't know, whatever the headline, some white hat found 12 different errors in the code yesterday.
Are you talking about Monero?
Yes, yes, yeah.
Yeah.
I guess nobody cares though on the market as far as the market.
Oh, not with a coin like EOS, no. People that are buying EOS in big quantities aren't the ones that follow the news like that.
Right. Monero looks good. I've been adding pretty lately. I remember last time we were at levels like this, a couple times we've been down here and the market's just exploded. I think at Miami conference back in, what was that? That was
February.
in February, right?
Mm-hmm.
We were down at these levels and the next thing you know, it was at 300. I remember seeing on the screen. I think we're just going to get the same rip again. I mean, the guys that want to draw trend lines, they're going to have this, depending on how you draw it. This is just a pretty good classic wedge pattern. So probably going to retest the upper bands up here again. And then big picture, what makes the longer term momentum return is once we get above 300, we can go back to 5. So there's the risk is clearly down here, just like the rest of the market, That's where all these longer term tail lines are. Daily cycle is rising. That one looks, Monero is one of our favorites for sure. Yeah. Somebody said waves. I haven't looked at that one in forever. I don't think I've ever traded waves. Not that it's a bad coin or anything. What else is going on in the news? I mean, the charts I've probably gone over these same charts 50 different times the last 4 days. Not much has changed.
Yeah, I think a lot of it's just development news. I think everything's there's not a lot of hype or anything, or just a bunch of development news dropping, maybe 1 or 2 regulation stances being made. But other than that.
Yeah, I saw that. What are our Google searches at on Bitcoin now? Down like 75% off the February highs.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I mean, I don't know if what that really means. Does that mean people are searching for it and that means the price goes up, or people are searching for it because the price already went up,
Yeah, that's probably it. It's just chasing price. And, it's not going to be on the news until it's absolutely ripping.
You think maybe till it breaks 10 again, or you think it needs to make an all-time high before?
I think 10 is gonna get a lot of the media's attention for sure. Waves is the same triangulation. It really just looks like, guys, that the monthly, we got to get through the summer, and then because everything, when you have a big move, and when we went 10x, I don't even know what this was a crazy move too for waves. It just takes time to work all that off, the energy, and energy has to build back up, and then we can have another phase transition. definitely probably not going to come till I don't know, the other side of the summer. Dave, are you doing anything here in Forex? Last 10 minutes?
No, I'm not the ninja you are. I need to focus my concentration if I'm going to do that usually.
I hear you. 117.86 on the euro.
What was the coin that your Uber driver was telling you about, Jason?
Oh, that was in California. I had a couple Uber guys. Uber guys are pretty sharp as far as the crypto goes.
I mean, if you're driving for Uber, you're kind of a little more entrepreneurial,
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I agree. It's different than the day trading days in New York cabbies that were, all of a sudden they were stock traders. I think it's a little bit different. But no, we were talking about 0x. I was kind of shocked when I was I was in Malibu, and this guy, he was an entrepreneur. I think he had a couple businesses, and one he was trying to sell, and he was going to make a killing, and the deal didn't go through, and so he was just driving around Uber on the weekends a little bit. But he's like, "Oh yeah, 0x, I'm long." I was like, "That's awesome." We were talking about it. I told him not to lose his position though. When I get out of the cab, I was like, "I'll sell it." Dragons popping a little bit here. Pound versus the yen. That was a pretty good buy we just had on the 15-minute. I'm going to come out of a little bit of that. Dave, you didn't take that with me here, did you?
No.
So we just held the bands, guys, we were talking about, so you can Forex world. I'm going to come out of a little bit here as we come back into these highs.
I think the markets have opened a little bit firm today too. So
yeah, what are stocks doing? Come out of that dragon. Santiago, what's up, brother? Yeah, Big Dave's on here today. What do you got going on? Are you trading any ag? Man, we're going to test 118, looks like, here on the euro. So the last big resistance from a couple of weeks ago was 118.26, call it. See if the sellers come in at 118. And 1792. I'm going to sell another core piece here. I'm going to sell a bigger piece now. Corn's back down. Santiago, which way are you playing wheat? Long. Ooh, you're getting a little bit of a pop this morning. We're going to have all that volcanic ash. Cool the globe off again and have another shitty winter, huh? Maybe we'll have a couple more big ones go off. That stuff in Guatemala is just amazing. What do they call that type of flow? It's like pyroclastic flow. It's insane. It's basically like an avalanche of volcanic ash down the mountain, just disintegrates everything in its path. You guys read up on that? Differences? Alec, you should know the differences.
No, I've just seen the videos. It looks terrifying. The videos look terrifying.
All the volcanoes around Atlanta. You should know, Alec.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Wheat's, that's a good trade. You got some resistance at 530. Our daily made another higher low, Santiago. When we talked about yesterday, you're right back at the 8. The daily cycle is still pretty low, though. I like that. I like buying dips there. What else was Novogratz saying? He has this pretty good pulse on what's going on from the institutions and the regulation.
Yeah, where was he? Was he on? Is he on somewhere? I missed it.
Mitch was saying here, Bloomberg. I would listen to a podcast he did from his Twitter feed the other day, and I don't know when he did it. I think it was several weeks ago. He was just talking a lot about the custodial issue. He thinks is one of the biggest things. He thinks once we get some bigger, I guess, old Wall Street, for lack of a better term, old Wall Street guys really taking bigger measures on the custodial side, he thinks Bitcoin will double just on getting the custodial stuff figured out. I mean, that makes sense. I mean, the pension funds just have so much fiduciary responsibility. I don't think you're going to sell to them a crypto solution where they got to hire out an IT department that's just specifically knows how to handle private keys and ledger wallets. I mean, I think that's where the market needs to go longer term. I mean, 10 years from now, I just don't know why I just don't know why these pension funds. I mean, I guess I know why, because some of them aren't the greatest traders in the world and maybe they don't have the experience. But I mean, I remember MF Global. Dave, you probably traded through MF Global. You were probably at
I remember that one.
shops.
Yeah.
So parking all this money at these third parties at the centralized, from a philosophy standpoint of this third party custodian, I think that's going backwards in a lot of ways. I don't see why, any of these pension funds can't have their own crypto team that they're in charge of their wallets, they're in charge of their coin. Platforms like ours, like Rhythm, or these decentralized exchanges can help them trade and then actually keep their assets and their coin at their own shops. And maybe it'd be nice to have some insurance come along, and all that stuff will happen. But I mean, I guess that's the transitional phase we're at right now, is we're going to go back to the third party model where these guys feel comfortable parking it at Goldman.
I think that's just the transition here. I mean, they're not equipped to handle this. Where I think they're going to have to become equipped as soon as more of these, more assets are tokenized.
Yeah,
it just makes sense. But until then, I think these custodian services are just what's going to fill that void for now.
Yeah, exactly. And that's a huge, massive wave of money. So I mean, I'm okay with them getting going on that.
What's the pulse, Jason, when you talk to your institutional context? I know like several months ago, there was just the interest starting to kind of appear.
Mm-hmm.
Still no real, like they weren't getting their hands dirty with it yet. Are they still kind of sussing things out, or?
Yeah, there's still a lot of, I guess, guys that that have been in the business for big traders for a long time at big shops that they still don't understand it all, really. Yeah. I mean, they realize it's here to stay, but they're just like, man, I stay away from it. I don't even understand. I mean, you get into the ins and outs of trying to talk to them about a fork, and they're like, that doesn't make any sense.
It's I get it, but it's like you've said before, your job, or a lot of these money managers, your job is to obviously get those returns, and you're missing out, or you did miss out on one of the biggest bull markets, that's come along in our generation. So how do you just not educate yourself? Like,
yeah,
ignorance is no excuse.
Right. And then you still get the older, bigger money names that, like the Druckenmillers, or I forget, there was a headline the other day. Somebody was saying that the euphoria is just on the ICOs is just outright fraud around a bunch of speculation. I mean, that's okay. I mean, I just think I think there's a lot. I think any of the traders maybe that are 40 and older, especially on Wall Street. I mean, if you've been on Wall Street for 10, 15 years, a lot of those guys can retire if they've had pretty good runs. So a lot of the traders on the desk are a little bit younger than that. And then I think they're all going to be the ones that are going to be more crypto focused for sure.
Yeah, I agree with Alec. It has to go through that kind of generational shift into the new world from the old.
Yeah. And I think the other big thing is we got to get some of these ETFs. Really, it would be nice to see some of those come on. So there's some custodial stuff with that. And then we get these futures markets developed a little bit more. But the Bitcoin futures have done really well. I mean, I think they've grown at much faster pace than when the VIX started, or even like the GLD was formed on the gold.
I'd like to get some of those comparisons.
Yeah, I have to read into it a little bit. I have to read into it a little bit more. I could probably put together some articles on that.
Yeah. Some
metrics comparing the two. I think those are the two big catalysts from the institutional side. The custodial stuff would be nice to see. As the more headlines like that come on board, that should take us higher. And then it'll only take a few big ETFs that'll have to be buyers, in the cash market to benchmark everything to the ETF, and that should raise the tide and lift a bunch of boats. Your weed's taken off there, Santiago. What else is moving? Do you guys see much going? This is the thing, like day trading crypto, it's just there's not as much energy. BTC is just.
Binance has been flying up today. Up 16% right now.
I've been kind of keeping an eye on this. I don't even know the name of this site. But it kind of shows some of the bigger blocks that go off. I think we did an article on them, didn't we, Alec? On PART?
What is it? PA?
No, I guess we didn't. PART particle, I think it's the name of the coin.
No, I haven't really taken
seen huge blocks go off there today. What is Binance doing?
Binance is moving. Enigma's moving a little bit.
Binance looks great. No, it's finally broke out of its 16 range. I guess we're going back to 2022.
Yeah.
I mean, we're still core long there. This has been a nice, pretty good trading range. But Binance has been one was the first to break out, make higher highs. Same thing with EOS. So these were the lower highs like Bitcoin's been doing, right? And then boom, we got finally on the daily level, on the weekly level, you started making higher highs. So this has been one of the strongest coins, one of the strongest charts for sure.
I wonder if that's some sort of indicator you can kind of use as going forward when the largest exchange coin starts taking off. I mean, that would kind of correlate demand, right? And
yeah, I think that's smart, especially on, Binance.
I mean, especially when it's such a divergence compared to, the rest of the majors there.
Yeah, no, I think you're absolutely right. I mean, we could look at the volumes too.
Mm-hmm.
But that's the thing with Binance too. I mean, they're growing their user base so much, and then that this coin is only really tradable, obviously, on their platform. So I think it creates a lot of demand. This is a coin I've always liked for a while. It looks good. I mean, if you're long, it always makes sense to take a little bit of profit on new highs, right? You want to be taking here, taking here, taking here. and adding back on these lows. So I'll be coming out of some right now. I haven't sold any. I have to do that when we get off. Yeah, that looks good. It'd be kind of nice if some of these other exchanges had their own coin. Is Binance going to be buying back their coin based on the money they're making?
Yeah, I mean they've already been doing it, I think.
Yeah, that's smart. So it kind of it's almost like it trades like a CME or people are familiar with ICE, Intercontinental Exchange. Then NYSE, NASDAQ.
Enigma's moving a little bit. Oh, cool.
Just keep an eye on Neo. We added to that a little bit the other day. It's kind of sleepy.
Yeah.
Enigma's going.
Yeah, it's moving a little bit. One of the bigger moves today. It's only about 7% so far, but
did Ripple actually give 50 million to university, or they're just talking?
no, they did.
Did?
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Yeah, I mean that's trying to help their image, I guess. Just trying to help. But
Well, I guess they're part of the establishment too. Which university? Or is it a couple?
I'm not too sure exactly what it was. I saw the headline though.
What's up, Dims? Walton Coin's been kind of quiet, hasn't it? Any of you guys trading nulls? It's backing up pretty hard, back towards the lows. I've only traded that small. Be one to keep an eye on though. Let's get back to the bands. Oh, I was looking at it versus Binance Coin. It's making higher lows. This chart's pretty strong. Euro came off pretty good up there. Failed right in front of 118. I'm going to try to sit down on some of the stuff I sold today, though.
That's a new term, sit down. I heard you say coming out of it, covering, sitting down.
Oh, yeah. The old trading desk talk. HAT? HAT? 50% from yesterday? Nice. Only in crypto. What's up with these bad prints? That just happened on. Must be Binance. Weird.
Someone get hit.
Oh, Dave just lifted the.
Oh yeah,
shit out of the market.
Hit it with both fists.
This Zen was in the news pretty good. You have an opinion there, Alec?
On which one?
On Zen.
Zencash?
Yeah.
Not really. I mean, I know Zencash was just hit with a 51% attack the other day.
Yeah.
So someone successfully double spent. And I think they moved some blocks around.
That's just amazing.
Yeah, it's kind of scary because I mean something like that's not just done by one, small player. I mean that someone's really got to know what they're doing to do that.
I know, it makes you think who's next.
I mean, I think like a 1 hour attack. It was this crazy amount of money you can rent from NiceHash. It's like it was a few $1,000 and you can 51% attack it if you know how to do it correctly. Yeah.
And so what happens in the quote unquote attack?
I mean, it depends on how long they can sustain it and, you know, what sort of measures they're taking. But like, for instance, there was like, I don't know, 10,000 double spends or something like that for Zen a few days ago. So someone double spent that many, that much Zen.
So so when they're quote unquote attacking, what are they actually doing? I mean, how does that?
They're changing the blocks around because they have more hash power. They have the majority of the hash power, so they can structure blocks the way they want them.
Just by doing transactions.
Yeah, I mean, the team was pretty responsive and they were transparent on how everything happened, but it just seems like there's a trend going on now, and there's a lot of coins that just don't have the security that everyone assumed they did.
All the proof of work coins.
Mm-hmm. I mean, that's quite a lot.
That seems like that's I mean, I'd like to hear what some of the
30 blocks.
The leaders in the community have to say about it. I mean, to me, it's just that's a pretty big issue with proof of work. Then, no.
Well, the smaller proof of work. I mean, the amount of money it would take for Bitcoin is ridiculous, and I think that really shows where the value is and where the store value is.
It's just not economical.
People get caught up in all these small cap coins because they think they're going to go so high, and then something like this happens. And
yeah,
I mean, 30 blocks is a lot of blocks to restructure.
I mean, that's a good point by Mitch that it kind of makes Bitcoin Cash pretty vulnerable, right?
Yeah, I think so.
If the miners go away, that's a good point.
Equihash algorithm, yeah, I think it's other ones too. I think Equihash was one of the better ones.
That's a good phrase. Longest chain wins.
Yeah,
it's true though. If this thing keeps puking, I mean, we sold pretty well here, just based on the cycle. I had a small position. I wasn't that bullish on it. I missed selling at these highs, so I just kicked a bunch of it out. I mean, if we get back down to below 200,000 sats, back down in this range, I think it makes sense. I might even start nibbling here. We're right at pi. I want to see how we cycle. And we cycled away from it, cycled back to it. It's probably too early to buy anything. Maybe that big down here makes sense. Not necessarily one we've been very bullish on, though. Vertcoin, I think it's interesting down here. Scott, what else are you looking at? BTG is forking, so it can't be effective.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably for the best, but yeah.
I think Vertcoin's getting really low, especially versus BTC. It's had some really nice moves. I mean, this was when the market was on fire. But we're just moving back into this base where I think it makes sense. I've been slowly nibbling. I didn't yesterday, but I'm going to add some more today. Pretty solid coin though. One's been around for a while. What other names do you guys want to look at? Some of you guys have some pretty good feel on some of the smaller names. 0x is just basing. I think it's going to make a higher high, just a matter of time. Been adding there. I talked about Salt already. I haven't done much with Gollum. Any news on them? Or IOTA had a kind of decent move last week.
Yeah, IOTA had some pretty good news. They're releasing like a smart contract. They released the technical paper for it. They're going to do pretty much they're aiming for, which IOTA is experimental for is regarded as experimental, even with everything else being experimental. But
Yeah.
Free feeless smart contracts. I mean, that's crazy if it's proven.
Feeless meaning,
As in, IOTA
you
doesn't
don't
have
need
any
any
fees.
gas.
Yeah, you don't need any fees to support smart contracts.
Oh, that's pretty good. So, what's the use case then for why the coin should go up? Just more people using it.
Yeah, I mean, it's the currency. It's a native currency for the protocol. So use it to transact, and there needs to be some sort of value for the smart contracts.
But it doesn't cost you anything. So
Nope.
It does cost you. You still got to buy the coin to use it. No.
No, but I mean that's how you would transact value in the contracts, as in I owe you this much if this happens. You can't say dollars. You have to give it whatever the native currency is. It just doesn't. So say I owe you I owe you 10,000 IOTA if this happens, right? That's what a smart contract says. But none of that. There's no extra cost involved. There's no cost involved. It's just that I owe you 10,000, and that 10,000 is then moved.
You just have to swap your whatever for IOTA. Okay. Have they been hitting on their timelines pretty good? You almost need a dedicated person to follow each one of these coins.
Oh, you do. Yeah, you need an analyst, for each sector pretty much. But yeah, I mean, they don't really have that side of a timeline. I mean, what they've been releasing has been pretty exciting. So
it's had a good run. I mean, this daily cycle played out pretty well. We should trade this one, I guess, a little bit more. I mean, I like IOTA more than I like Gollum. To me, it just seems a little, they're trying to do too much. But
yeah, but they're pretty active. I like IOTA. I mean, I like Gollum a lot.
Here's both of these daily cycles were good buys. I mean, this is just a 30% move in 4 days. That chart trades well. That's one of the other coins that's actually making higher highs and higher lows. I like that one. Let's go look at Gollum real quick. Ren, Scotty, yeah, we did a write up on them. Then and Ren. Okay, I'll look at those two next. You need 100,000 Ren for a masternode? Dollars or coin, right? Sorry, wrong one. Let me just touch on Gollum real quick while I was at it. Gollum's making higher highs and higher lows too on the daily level. Would it be fair, Alec, to pair this and IOTA off against each other?
No, I don't think so.
No. All right.
There's a few other computational resource like platforms like this, but I think Gollum, I don't really trade around. I just hold it, and I'm not that's not I don't think that's a coin you really hold for short-term profit. You're not going to see any exciting things from them for a while.
Yeah.
But when you do, I mean, that could change. It can change a lot.
Yeah, I mean, it has some pretty good percentage movement. Oh, this is nice. You can chart Ren versus Tether here. I mean, this is, again, the altcoins. There's a lot of alts that actually are back in bull markets with these higher highs versus the majors haven't been able to do it yet. This is all bullish. Again, you had another nice buying opportunity down here, lower than the cycle. If you guys find these bands helpful, I've always used them because it's pretty good visual. But when you do use them, you want to be buyers back near the bands, but don't make the mistake that you freak out just because you get below the bands. That's kind of a mistake. I see a lot of people that are a little bit new to trading. You want to treat these as areas. So just because you have one bar that pokes through, I mean, this was the right spot to buy down here. It looks good. Scott, are you long there? I think you can go back to 12, 13 cents. I mean, we've had a pretty good little daily cycle up already. I'll just keep adding and reducing on that. I mean, it's really not going to look bearish unless you get all the way back below these lows. This is kind of where it broke out from. Looks pretty good. Even versus BTC, same thing. I mean, higher lows. That looks good. Banca. We could look at Banca. What else did we say? We said Ren, Ven. VeChain versus Tether. It's a little bit more like the market, kind of stuck in this big picture wedge. But you've had some pretty good ebb and flow. Again, that daily cycle just really does a good job. That was back when the market turned also here on that big 8.6 weekly cycle turn. So it looks good. We've liked VeChain. You've liked that one, Alec, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they released their white paper for their new supply chain platform, I think a few days ago, a week ago. Yeah, it'll be a top performer.
Yeah. I mean, from a timing perspective, guys, if you're long, you just want to watch that low right there. As long as you're above this low, it looks pretty good. If you were to get below here, then you got to kind of think about a move back. You'd be making lower lows again, like you were, during the February and March. But right now, this is a higher low relative to here. This is a higher high. So the fact that you made a higher low here makes me think you're probably going to get a higher high longer term again. There's pretty good resistance, 6.5, 7. That's where the market tailed last time we were up here.
Yeah, I think that's going to be a winner more short term than any of the other platforms, just because they're not really doing anything too exciting on the technical side, like EOS, kind of like EOS, or especially like Ethereum, where what they're doing takes a long time to develop, and they're really focusing on innovation. Where VeChain, I mean, they're really focused on the user case with enterprises. So,
are they making money yet?
Yeah, I mean, they have more partners than pretty much any other project out there, which I think in the short term is what people really care about. While these other platforms are still developing, they're grabbing, actual user cases everywhere. Yeah.
Okay. I mean, it makes sense. I kind of like that too. I think that we're going to see more and more coins that actually start making money are going to be the ones that start to perform well. I mean, maybe it'll be this kind of shift from ICOs to kind of security tokens. But I do look forward to seeing the projects that want to function more as a business. The entrepreneurs are building businesses, but then using the tokens that actually start to have some cash flow. It's going to be interesting to see. I think it'll be easier to measure too, from a valuation perspective.
Yeah, I think we're going to get a shift into projects like that have some sort of cash flow and base, but I think that's just going to be another trend that's going to be overtaken eventually by like the infrastructure tokens that are taking the time now to build out. You won't see anything exciting from Ethereum for another probably year, but when that does happen, I can't see anything else competing with platforms like that.
Right.
Right.
I mean, you're going to have the platforms, you're going to have the store of value, privacy coins. It's like we talked about, you have your currency category of token, and you're going to have your platform tokens, and then you're going to have your I don't know. I guess you could have maybe your payment platforms. It's kind of similar as a currency platform.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of why I
Of
see
the world.
like Binance coin right now is doing so well, right? Top 15 market cap, price of the coins, been skyrocketing. And you have all these platforms below it. You have 0x below it. You have Lisk, Nano, Golem, kind of like Golem. I mean, Aeon, all these below it still. I know market cap doesn't mean much, but I mean, because you have Binance is making money right now.
Right.
So, which is what's more short term as these platforms start developing. But I think they're going to pull away from platforms like Binance and, and these other just ERC20 tokens.
Well, and that's the thing too. I mean, the companies that generate the cash can be around a long time. And just like a stock, if you have a company that's, I mean, geez, if you invested in Apple, even just, you didn't have to be long from the 80s. If you just got long back in 2005, when that iPhone came out, I mean, it's been a huge winner. But at the same time, you also, those types of, I mean, Ethereum, tough to compete with them at this point, right? The exchanges, I mean, you could have NASDAQ come in and really compete with Binance. I mean, there was such an early mover, but the point is that the coins that are going to perform like companies, they're just, their risk is that they do, the competition changes or they go out of business. So there's always going to be that risk too.
Yeah. Well, I'm thinking like where you have a business, you have a sole business like Binance, they can only do so well. And then when you have Ethereum that's going to have 10,000 businesses built on it, I think the price of like a platform that builds, the infrastructure, I think those are just going to pull away in such a big way compared to a single company token.
Yeah, that's true.
But now they seem close just because, the market's so young.
Yeah, that's true. It's all relative. And then you got Tron up here, still major volume. Is this an exchange token also? UB token? I never heard of this one. I was just looking at the volume in the last 24 hours. HUOBI token. Never heard of it. Some of you guys have been trading that ontology. Quantum's got pretty good volume. There's VeChain, Cardano.
Yeah, that's an exchange.
Alec, what's been happening with that US dollar true or whatever? That's is it looking any more legitimate these days?
There's so many different fiat. I mean, there's stable coins now. I think there's like 4 or 5 now by pretty reputable brands. I forget, there was a website I pulled up the other day. I saw on Twitter that he was tracking all of them now with reviews on, the news and everything. I'll have to try to find it and post it in chat. But I think it's good because there's too much reliance on Tether. I think.
Yeah, exactly.
I think as long as you maybe now you have options to spread it out, for your USD. You can have a little bit of Tether, this true USD.
That's a good point. You can spread it out. That takes down the risk a little bit.
Yeah.
I mean, but I don't think you can use the API to trade into that. You can't chart. Everything is still charted in USDT.
For now, but I think it should start, kind of.
And are these ones actually, pegged to the, like, do they still fluctuate above and below 1?
Yeah, I think they all do.
Yeah.
I'm going to cover some of this. Pretty much sold a high here in the euro. I'm going to cover this lot I sold up here. You guys long Aeon? I didn't look at that one this morning. They seem like they got a lot going on. I didn't really realize they were, like Noah was saying, they're ex-Deloitte guys, a lot of them. Did you know that, Alex?
One more time now?
The Aeon guys.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, Aeon's, I love Aeon. I mean, what they're doing is connecting all these different blockchains, and we have new blockchains coming up every other day. So whoever can really figure out and becomes one of the leaders in that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's going to be where it doesn't matter what coin you pay in or use, you can still connect to every single other one.
Yeah, that's going to be needed for sure.
Oh yeah, without a doubt. You're not just going to be forced to use one here or one there. You either use whatever you want, wherever you want, for whatever reason.
Counter argument. All right, Dan, what do you got here? If the price of the platform goes up too much, then the customers won't be able to afford to deploy the apps, as it will be too expensive to make transactions on the blockchain. So you're saying for like something like Ethereum? I guess it depends on if you're long a bunch of Ethereum, If you're developing stuff on the platform and because you're going to use it or whatever, you're long Ethereum and you've been long for a while, it's more expensive, but you've had a big windfall at the same time.
I think if the price goes up is because the demand goes up. So I can't see the price. I think it'll kind of balance itself out. I mean, if the demand's there, people are going to pay that premium.
Right. And if it gets to a point where it's like, wow, this is unaffordable, then the price should come back down because the demand has dropped. Yeah, that's a good point, though. Does that stand? I've been tracking TrueUSD since listing on Binance. It's done a pretty good job. All right. It just doesn't seem like it's very easy to use. I mean, I don't know. Are you guys really, when you go to make your trades, are you, instead of using Tether, you're going back into this new guy? It'd just be nice to be able to do it on the APIs. So we actually trust them more than Tether. Why do we trust these other guys? I haven't looked into.
Which one? There's so many now.
We're just talking about TrueUSD.
I'm not too sure.
Dan, that's a good point.
It seems like there's an actual third-party accounting firm that does regular audits of it.
Oh, okay. Kind of like Dave, what was that old accounting firm that was at the center of all that fraud on the Enron?
Oh, I can't even remember. But you just get this picture of this, broom closet that's supposed to be their head office.
Right. So we're back to third parties now, trusting. Yeah, I guess it's better than Tether being completely non-transparent. I just not even sure. I mean, I get the market would panic if it wasn't backed by USD, but there's no reason why you couldn't print just to keep the coin steady. It's just you can make the same argument for the U.S. economy right now. We don't need to be borrowing when we're not pegged to. We're off a gold standard. Money is just debt that pays interest. So this idea that it's less inflationary to borrow is absurd, because when we print or we borrow, we actually pay interest. And so now our interest expenditures are about to outpace our defense budget. And all this money that we, quote unquote, the supply of the dollars that we put out there, we have to pay interest on. It makes our debt even worse. and then the interest just goes overseas to China. So we should be actually just printing the currency dollars to fund the federal budget, eliminate taxes. You can almost make the same case for something like Tether. As long as if the goal is to keep it pegged at $1, who cares if they print? I mean, you don't want them printing Tether and then turning around and using that to bid up something, I guess, artificially like Bitcoin. But this idea that it has to be backed dollar for dollar, I think if you look at it from a different angle, there's really no reason why it can't be printed. Yeah, Arthur Anderson, right, Dave? That was it.
Oh yeah, that rings a bell now.
Yeah, audited Enron. Yeah, they and a few others. Yeah, Stan, that makes sense. We were talking, like Alec was saying, you could spread it around.
And for I had one more quick thing about I didn't mention is that Ethereum, and for Ethereum, when those platforms kind of rise, specifically for Ethereum, the price of Ether and gas, they're not coupled together. Mm-hmm. So as hardware and, as more these miners upgrade their machines and everything, the, computational work will cost less because it doesn't take as much resources from them. So running a program won't cost as much as hardware increases. It really all boils down to the miners, not really the price of Ether.
Yeah. Those are good points. Dragons making lower lows on the 5-minute. I think we might be topping in these FX markets here. Dragons topping out right at the trend line. Right with the cycle. That might have been it on the euro, 118. Either 118 or 119 is probably going to be it. %105 GDP is the median debt to GDP ratio. That makes sense. But if you really start to think about FX and what is money, we'd be better off if we just, because what is money doesn't really matter. It matters more about actually restricting Congress and the government for borrowing and borrowing and borrowing and borrowing. You could peg it to gold. You could do whatever you want. It never stopped them from borrowing. When we were tied to the gold standard, it's getting control of this runaway debt that's the destroyer. So we'd be better off if we stopped all borrowing, and then we just set a limit that, all right, the federal government's budget needs to be this. We got room to grow by this, and we just printed dollars to actually fund the budget. It'd be so much less inflationary and so much less of a problem. As we just pile the debt on, as rates go up, it's just going to exponentially explode. That's the whole reason why we have this sovereign debt crisis. Is exactly what's playing out in Italy right now, and all the other stress on the peripheral bond markets. We'd be better off printing. It really would.
Or we can actually use some of those funds for the budget for something that actually gets some return on investment.
Yeah.
More on education, more on sciences, more on something that'll actually lead to something.
I mean, I think we're going to get to the point where it's like, all right, well, you can create a certain amount of crypto for whatever project. And then you don't want, as your economy grows, as more and more your population grows, you have to have an increase in the money supply, otherwise it's deflationary. But if you keep a ratio there, that's a good thing. And anyway, it's going to take a lot to get that going. Dollar CAD, did you buy down there, Stan? I was just thinking about punching some out. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a headline that's just come out about this tariffs again. So
David called that too. Yeah, Stan, I'm probably gonna come out of all that for day trade here. I'm gonna cover some dragon too. I might take a small little long again on the euro day trade. 50-minute cycle still coming down. Alec, did you have anything else to add on like crypto here?
No, really.
Dave, did you have anything else?
I would recommend pulling up Enigma though. Still,
Just so people I'm mumbling about here in FX. I covered some of my euros. Just been scalping it around here while we were talking, but sold a little bit of dragon. Probably going to cover that here. Dollar CAD just had a pretty good pop that Stan was mentioning. So we're buying down here. Take some money off into that. That was a good little trade.
Nice.
So you want to look at what, Alex said?
it doesn't matter. I was just pulling up Enigma on my chart right now, but there's something moving in.
The tricks.
We had oil down as well, so the loony's just getting a double whammy.
Where's oil trading right now?
It was just a weekly inventory report that showed a build. So
are these spikes real on this USD? I don't know if it was up to $1.25. I doubt that's real. It's hung in there pretty good though. That's positive. Enigma, Alec. Yeah, Stan, it's definitely too big to fail now. I don't see a lot of movement there, Alec, to be honest with you, partner. It doesn't look like it's, I mean, it's just totally locked up here. It's probably due for a move. It's reached its apex. It just seems like it's coiling. I'd like to see a real money candle, something like this. You know, I hate that color, but just give us a real money candle like this. That might be the start. Anytime the bands lay on top of each other like that, it's pretty indicative of a big move coming either way. On the downside, we watched, you know, you had a bullish engulfing right at the 200. Probably wants to go. What do you like about that one again? You want to tell people?
Oh, yeah. I mean, just privacy for smart contracts. So whatever sort of, it's pretty much blockchain agnostic. So whatever smart contract platform needs privacy, Enigma can kind of shape itself to whatever platform.
How many privacy coins, major ones, do we have now? 6?
Yeah. Let's see. Yeah, I mean, there's probably like 2 or 3 really. You know, there's Monero, Zcash, Pivx. I mean, that's really about it. I mean, Zencash got hit by 51% attack. So really how private and how secure is that?
Zcash is not going to have that same.
No, Zcash is pretty unique. It's pretty interesting with the ZK snarks. And a lot of other platforms are looking to incorporate that in some way. Really cool technology. Actually, something breakthrough.
I think Zcash, you're going to look back here by the end of the year and be like, oh, man.
Mm-hmm.
It was just at close to 200 again. It'll be back trading at 6. Same. I get that same feel for like Dash. Just a couple of those, popular coins have been around forever that trade really well. All right, guys. Well, I guess we'll kind of wrap it up. And I got another call here. I'm gonna jump on. Pretty good little morning on FX. I actually like these levels where the market's failing at, so I'm going to be getting more aggressive. My guys will be on in the morning. Some of you, obviously, like Dave, but Stan, Santiago. I think you get more aggressive on some of these intraday pops. Like if we get another 15-minute cycle up on the euro or on Dragon, I think there's pretty good opportunity on the short side.
You're still showing your
I'm not really pointing anything.
Oh, okay. It looked like you were. You're moving your mouse around.
Oh, but thanks. We already went over all that. Just time it up, guys, with your cycles on the 15 minutes. And then as far as, let me switch over to Thinkorswim. As far as Bitcoin, I think my next big move is, it's just been chopping around these tight ranges, and then it's like the bigger money comes through the exchanges and you get these big knee-jerk reactions back and forth. But I'll probably sell a little bit more futures if we test the upper end above the 2 standard deviation channel up here. I guess I can stretch this out closer towards 7,700. And then obviously I'll take some profit on this short if we move into the money here back to the bottom of the range around 7,400. And then if we get to the top of the range, you make some sales on the stuff you like. You get to the bottom of the range, 7,400 or lower. There's been some pretty good opportunity to buy the coins that you like. We'll just keep trading it back and forth while we're kind of stuck in the mud. I guess that's pretty much it. You want to look at Veri, Dan? Veri and BQX, Bitcoin Cash, Bill Dash. Veri, VERI. It's on Coinergy, right? Let me switch over. Hit BTC. Well, all right, we can chart it versus the dollar. I haven't heard of this guy. It's back in the it's back at levels where it based after its ICO. So if you kind of treat between 80 and 40, that's a pretty wide dollar amount. But if you kind of treat it on a percentage basis, that's pretty good location longer term. So here was your cycle away. Here you're cycling back. Maybe you have another longer term cycle the back half of this year. For the intermediate term, what you want to see is the market just start to make higher highs again. So right now, anytime you pop to the bands, it's just made a lower high. So this has definitely been in a long-term bear market. But doesn't mean you can't go contrarian. It just means you probably want to get aggressive once you get above the bands. And so maybe you pick your spots and you nibble down here. And, if you buy something well, you come out of it. Buy something well, and you get a bounce, you can come out of it. But you really want to kind of look for price to get back above the bands there, kind of like it did back here. And then you got your run. And that probably is not going to happen until Bitcoin breaks above 10,000.
Yeah.
That's all I have to say on that coin. The other one that you guys just typed in, are you going to say something, Alec?
Nothing I was going to say is be careful with that one. I wouldn't hold too much in it.
Just based on the name?
Based on the name, yeah, based on the fundamentals and who's running the project.
Yeah.
Doesn't have a very good reputation at all.
Who's that?
It's I think his name's like Reggie. Doesn't have a very good background.
Never trust a Reggie.
Just really be wary, but that's about it.
BQX. BQX. This seems like a newer coin. Same kind of thing. You're making lower highs. You finally stopped making lower lows here at $2. So it's kind of found its bottom, kind of like the overall market. You had a low in February, you had a low in April. Now we've kind of retested some of the lows. So I guess that this coin would probably hold too, unless the market really breaks down. I don't know anything on the fundamental side, but it trades a lot like the overall market. Daily cycle is pretty high. Maybe you add to it if you get above the bands, if you get above 3. Resistance pretty clear in front of 5. All right, guys. Well, Dave, thanks for jumping on with us, buddy.
Yeah,
maybe we'll do another live stream. Yeah, another live stream later in the week. Alec, good stuff. You got anything to announce?
Nothing to really announce except
I guess I'll just let people know that we've built a pretty good community, guys, a team. We've had a group of Forex traders for a long time. Our crypto business has grown actually a lot faster. But Blockhedge Capital is our digital asset management firm that we're building. And then we have an educational business that we've had for a while. And there's a chat room here. It's kind of the easiest way for you guys to get involved and outside of just thinking around here on YouTube with us. But I mean, I do want to do more live sessions, but if you jenkinsrm.com, our chat room, it's free to come in here. We've got a couple of paid rooms that are along the lines of our educational products. So we have a training and trading model that is about 9 hours long. Anybody that purchases that, we have a real-time alerts private team where, like this morning, I was talking about selling the euro and the pound, the euro versus the dollar. We sold some stuff on Dragon all near the highs. So, but anyway, there's a lot of traders that take advantage of that. This is probably one of the best trading courses you'll find out there. I mean, as far as a timing process, there's really nothing out there. There's kind of a lot of garbage. Dave and I were talking about that on the FX side, just to find consistency between some of these communities that have so-called experienced traders. That what do, Dave? They risk a bunch for 2 or 3 months to try to get their performance up, and then
it's just not sustainable. They're here today, gone tomorrow, and you really aren't going to have much success. You need to have, it all comes down to the trader, right? And so you need someone with that track record. And it's just as simple as no one lasts long in this business by mistake. So there's no better way to vouch for you than just, your career and your track record that you've already had.
Yeah. It's tough to find good traders, even on the institutional side, but I've kind of been pretty public about wanting to help guys. I mean, Dave, you've been with me for a long time. You're doing really well now. You don't have, you're trading full time. So we've got a lot of guys that when they put in the work, like Alec has, and like Dave, like you have, and a lot of our other guys, and you get the results. But this is just some of what we've done in the last month. I mean, I've been showing on a $50,000 account what's possible, but I mean, there's 24 grand here that we did. But if you look at some of these win rates, I'm not saying this that, hey, look at me. This is just about the model and the process. So if you guys have a timing process, and when you start to realize that it's not just about price, but time is actually more important. And so it's the cyclical analysis where when you combine the cyclical piece with your risk management and you really know how to work in and out of a position, I mean, there's 103 consecutive winners, 92% on the short side, long positions, 81%, profitable trades. So this is a 90% win rate this month. And we're not just shooting off a few trades like some of these automatic so-called trading bots do. I mean,
there's a lot that you'll just get one trade. I've seen signal providers, for example, doing one scalp trade, you know, making 5 pips during a high risk news event, and then they're gone for the day.
Yeah.
So you can do a lot better.
Yeah. I mean, and you see, like, I guess I was going to say too, some of you guys are probably at the point in your trading where you're making some progress, but then you'll hit a plateau. And so the trading course is great. It's going to teach you. I mean, when I was first starting out in my career, and pretty much everybody's the same way, you can buy the typical books, and then there's different courses that I learned along the way. I mean, options and Forex and stuff. And I've probably spent upwards of 30 grand just learning, you know, different things about trading, and all of that stuff builds to your fundamentals. But I mean, if you really want a course, guys, I don't talk about like what's a candle, you know, what is a Japanese candlestick. You know, we don't get into stuff like that. I'm talking about how to correctly identify the trends, how to work your position with the cycle, with the trend, how to add and reduce. We're talking about trading plans, setups. There's like 8 different setups we teach. Bullish engulfing, topping tails, bottoming tail takeouts, RBIs, BCIs, all stuff that is like high level techniques, but we're putting it all together in this course. So for the price, I mean, there really is nothing else out there. And then, what I was going to say, when you reach a plateau, so that's good. But this core team that we have, all my coaching clients, or this private trading team we trade together every day. This is where you really get the sense of like, hey, I'm struggling with flipping and reversing when I'm day trading, or, you know, Jason, how do you really decide, you know, you want to trade in an uptrend day trade, but then you're big picture bearish. How do you work 2 separate positions? How do you work your size longer term this way at the same time you're trading something long intraday? This is all the stuff that we do in the live room. And so this is open to anybody that wants to take advantage of that. That's kind of what you see when we're talking about Forex and futures. And anyway, that's all I got, guys. Alex, anything else?
No, you covered it pretty well.
I guess we don't have really anything new on the podcast or anything else like that. I think that's it. Dave, what do you got going? You're going to go work on your suntan since you guys are winter's probably finally over?
Yeah, our 5 minutes of summer. I got to get out there.
All right, guys. I'll talk to some of you here on YouTube in the room tomorrow. Stan, you're welcome. Mitch, Dan, thanks for hopping on.
All right.
For contributing.
All right. Till next time, guys.